Petitioner, the KIMS kits resurrected during the transmission of results. That submission was not supported by any tangible evidence. If anything, when KIMS kits were not used to identify the persons who voted at the various polling stations, it would be difficult to understand how the KIMS kits would later relay the results from such polling stations. From my basic understanding of KIMS kits, they can only give an output based on information which was entered into it. And the information about voters includes their national identity card numbers or the particulars of their passports, together with each such voter's biometrics. It is therefore inconceivable that the KIMS kits would produce results including persons who were only identified with the use of an exercise book. I find that in relation to Yakila Farms polling station, the returning officer proved that during the very limited time when the KIMS failed, no voters cast their votes. That fact is clearly recording in the polling station diary. Finally, on this issue of KIMS, the fact that IEBC failed to make available some 9 SD cards does not lead to an automatic conclusion that KIMS was not used at those 9 polling stations. This is because, in the first instance, the petitioner only called 2 witnesses in an endeavor to prove that KIMS was used only briefly in the 3 wards in Mandera North constituency. He cannot turn around and say that because IEBC did not produce SD cards for 9 polling stations, that is proof that KIMS was not used in the 9 polling stations. The respondents had no legal obligation to disprove that which the petitioner had not laid evidence on. I next tackle the issue of chasing away from polling stations and assault of the agents for the petitioner or of EFP. The petitioner testified that his agents were chased away or were locked out of the vote counting and the tallying process. Indeed, that is his submission as well. In the first instance, a distinction must be drawn between polling stations and tallying centers. Whilst polling stations are the primary units at which voters cast their votes and where the presiding officers count the votes, the tallying centers are presided over by the returning officers who receive results from the presiding officers. The primary task of the returning officer at the tallying center is to carry out the process of tallying the results shown on the Forms 37A and to come up with the totals. In effect, at the tallying centers, the returning officers do not count votes. The petitioner's testimony was that 8 of his agents had sworn affidavits in which they narrated how they were chased away from the polling stations where they had been assigned. However, the petitioner also said that only 2 of those agents would testify. County. In the event, the petition is dismissed. The 3rd and 4th respondents have asked me to issue a certificate for 3 advocates. However, I have found no reason in law to warrant the issuance of a certificate for 3 counsel. There has not arisen any novel issues of law which require the engagement of 3 advocates to represent the 3rd and 4th respondents. I therefore order the petitioner to pay the cost of the petition to all the respondents. I direct that the cost shall be taxed by the taxing officer of this court. However, in keeping with the desire of Kenyans to keep a lead on the costs, I direct that the instruction fees for the 1st and 2nd respondents shall not exceed 5 million shillings. And similarly, I direct that the instruction fee for the 3rd and 4th respondents shall not exceed 5 million shillings. That is my judgment.